So Tom, so how do you do it? Well, what we do is we use in-market targeting. Okay. So let me show you how in-market targeting works. Again, in-market targeting are prospects who are actively pursuing, meaning they're researching that problem. So if you can target them early, you can educate them about their problem and you'll build relevant trust, which again is the core of a relationship is trust. But trust about, hey, he's a good guy, I see him in church, is nice. But if it's relevant to the problem they're solving, even better, right? Meeting them where they are is meeting them when they're looking up their problem. So that's what we mean by the ability to target prospects who are early in the buyer's journey, right? They're actively pursuing by researching and educating themselves about their problem. So let me show you how we do it, right? You see, when you look into the marketplace, you see nameless, faceless people. Well, with our technology, we don't. What we can do is we can look at this and we can immediately see which ones of these people are actually in market. Now, the advantage, obviously, if you studied lead nurturing, you know the advantages. So, Tom, how do you do that? Well, Jim, it's really simple. Okay? We isolate people. Now, how we do this is simple. We find people that are in market and we only advertise to people that are in market. The power of which is extremely important because when you only target people who are in market, you don't waste money. Now, please notice, everybody, that I haven't told you how to do it. I'm telling you why it's important. Because instead of advertising to the masses, we advertise to the few. And we measure that advertisement so that we only advertise to people who meet the same behavior. Because we know that it works. Okay? In-market targeting works because we're only targeting people who have the exact same behavior of previous buyers, previous conversions. And this allows us to advertise anywhere we want, often, okay? And we're not just running ads, we're targeting a specific individual wherever they may go. So if we've met them where they are and we build a relationship, the other part of it is we can remain top of mind. Because you have to be top of mind and you have to be in a relationship. Otherwise, Bob, when he decides, he's not going to remember you. You've seen 100 ads in the last 24 hours. Name one. Memory is a huge piece. It's a very important piece. So what happens is for us to get Bob to buy from us, we need to do two things. We need to build a relationship, and trust is at the center of that relationship. And it can't just be trust. It has to be relevant to Bob solving his problem, trust. We have to meet him where he is. And then we have to target Bob so we can have conversations. If he's on Twitter, we want to have a conversation. Why? Because conversations are mental conversations. Online conversations, they're not ad campaigns. Right? A mental conversation. Marketing is a dialogue. It's a mental conversation. When we drive Bob to our landing page or any of our marketing collateral, we're having a mental conversation with Bob. Yeah, we're doing all the talking, but it's a dialogue. And when you own and control the targeting, you can have that conversation with Bob anywhere he goes. So we'll always be having a conversation about educating him, meeting him where he is, helping him solve his problem. Relevant trust will be built. And we're going to drive those conversations to a series of value exchanges so that Bob can see that we follow through on what we promise, which builds further trust. Okay? And all of this information that we're providing to Bob helps Bob make a smart buying decision, which is human nature to anybody, right? Human nature demands that Bob always make the best possible buying decision. So Bob's going to make sure that he's not wasting any time, any money, and he's going to get a true solution. And we're the people who educate him about that. So we're sitting pole position. We're in a relevant relationship with relevant trust, and we're consistently having a conversation about that thing that matters most to Bob. And we're helping him get where Bob wants to go, which is a smart buying decision. And we're able to do this in a cost-effective way because we're not wasting advertising on people that are not in market. So obviously the value is there. So let's get into the how we're able to do that. You see, Jim, we own what's called an identity graph, right? So what our system does is we're connecting targeting to individual people. That's step one. And we built an identity graph. And we're able to do that because we're buying this particular transaction. And so each consumer that we have in our graph, and we have over 200 million, we have 2.6 emails and we have 2.5 device IDs for each individual. And that's important because this way we can target this person wherever they go, whatever ad platform they're on, whatever behavior that we bring in, and I'll get to that in a second. But what our identity graph allows us to do is to build out the ability to track Bob and Adam and Mary. So instead of you running ads to anonymous people, we're targeting specific people on an identity level, on a people-based level. Okay? Now here's the real important key. Now, how do you know which one of these people are in market? Okay? So the first thing you do is you build an identity graph. And all we do is we drop our cookie on the post side of a transaction. So when Adam buys something, we drop our cookie and we connect his email. And when he logs back into that content, we see if he has a device. And if he does, we log the device ID. Okay? That's how an identity graph works. And it allows us to resolve identity. Now, there's two ways in which we resolve identity. We attach behavior, right, off our website, and then behavior on our website. Because all sales start online. They start with that research we discussed earlier. And then all sales come to your website before they purchase. And we know when they come as well. I'll get to that in a second as well. So what we're able to do with our identity graph is now bring in behavior. Okay? And our identity graph, Bob, that's me, Jim, is not going to stay with 200 million. We're well on our way to 260 million. And before we can resolve the identity of anybody comes to your website at a 50% level, we're already testing high 70s, low 80s. Our system is never going to stand still. We're continuously looking to grow and get better. Okay? And what we do with our graph is every day we bring in behavior. Now, that behavior is worthless without it being what? Identified. So this way we know when behavior comes in, we know it's attached to Bob. So now, how do we know Bob's in market? It's really simple. Let's say, for example, Bob bought a car. Okay? Bob buys a car. We go back into our behavior database and we build out Bob's path to purchase, his chronological behavioral path to purchase. Right? That's what's called data. Right? And when you're using machine learning, machines are systems that learn from data. That particular piece of data, that path, that chronological path is called a training sample. Now, it's not that big a deal if you only have one, but if you have the training sample, right, the chronological path to purchase for more than just Bob, then you can start to overlay all that behavior to see what they have in common. When you can look at the previous buying behavior for 100, 200, you start to be able to build out all that behavior into what's called a profile, right? In algorithmic terminology, all algorithms are a mathematical optimization, right? The most common one we use is pattern recognition. It's called a regression algorithm. And all it does is it looks at the behavior of previous buyers leading up to that purchase. And it looks at that behavior from one person to the next, and it starts to look at the most common behavior. So every day when we're bringing in 50 billion pieces of information, we're not bringing in anonymous behavior. We're bringing in people that are attached to our 200 million graph. And we're looking for the specific behavior of buyers, right? Not just one buyer, but hundreds of previous buyers. Now, how do we know? Because we broke them down and we looked at them individually. And then we looked at them together. And from that, we determined that there is a behavior profile, right? A behavioral pattern of somebody who is in market. So every day when we bring in 50 billion pieces of behavior on the URL level, right? Keyword search level, campaign response, content consumption, what it allows us to do is to attach the behavior to the individual that matches the buying behavior of previous buyers. Okay? And what it allows us to do is predict, when you look out into the anonymous, who's in market. Because the people in the green match the behavior of previous buyers. And so what we do is we don't advertise to anybody but the people that match the behavior. And what that does is it does two things. Number one, we don't waste a single dollar. We only advertise to people that are in market, people that are actively pursuing by behavior a purchase of what you sell, Jim. You're never going to spend a nickel on anyone that doesn't demonstrate buying behavior. And then number two, we're going to give you this technology in such a way so that you can target these people anywhere they go, so that you can build relevant trust, so you can help them in their journey, so you can build a relationship before you sell, so that you can gain frame control. Because what frame control means is that Bob is going to look at solving his problem through the perspective that you taught him. You see, when you meet Bob first in the journey, you're going to be able to control that perspective because Bob's learning from you, Jim. You're teaching Bob how to solve his problem. And you're not offering up a solution yet. You're just teaching him how to solve his problem. What you're doing is you're defining the value that Bob needs to buy. You're setting the criteria that Bob needs to follow when buying a solution. And any company that comes in, any product that comes in after you have frame control is going to get compared to you. Now, right now in your marketplace, there are hundreds, maybe even thousands of people that are just like Bob. You're going to have the ability to target them first. You're going to have the ability to control their perspective on how they solve their problem. You're going to build a relationship. It's going to be based on relevant trust so that all the Bobs that are in market are going to know irrefutably that you are the person they should consider when they make their purchase. And because we're going to only be targeting people that are in market, you're going to afford to advertise to these people every day because you're not wasting any money on any bad ads. You're not spending a nickel on anyone who isn't in market, which means you're going to be able to stay front and center, top of mind for Bob. Because if you're not top of mind, then you're not going to be the choice. People forget. You've seen 100 ads in the last 24 hours. Name one. See, Jim, everybody's just like you. They forget. No matter how relevant that trust is, no matter how many times you've spoken to them, you're human. You're going to forget. So not only do you have to build a relationship to get the sale, but you have to remain top of mind. Now, that can get expensive if you're targeting everybody, right? If you're targeting every single person, regardless of whether or not they're in market, that could get seriously expensive. But we don't do that. We only advertise to the people that matter. Every last one of them. Okay? And then we track when they come to your website by putting our Smart Pixel on there. And what our Smart Pixel allows you to do is know who's on your website. Imagine that. So not only do we know who's in market, but we know the level of whether they're in market. Because let's face facts, your sales cycle isn't a short one, right? It's not overnight. It's not a couple of days. It's not a week. So there's a series of things that they have to do in that buyer's journey. And what our technology does is it finds them early and measures their progress in that journey so you can meet them wherever they are. And you can talk to them based on where they are in that in-market journey. Okay? And we do that by measuring who visits your website. All right? We call it Site Visitor Match. And it's not complicated. Remember how we said earlier, we're able to know who's in market. Well, if we know who's in market, then we're also using the same technology to know who's on your website. Right? This is the ability to deterministically know the exact identity of your anonymous website visitors. And I know deterministically is one of those jargon words, but the alternative to deterministic, which means certain, is probabilistic, which means maybe. Now, do you want to be certain of who that person is, or do you maybe want to be right about who they are? Because the difference is wasted money. The difference is your cost per sale is going to go up. And if you're using Google and Facebook, deterministic versus probabilistic is important, because if you're targeting the wrong people, that means you're going to get a low click-through rate. Low click-through rate means higher cost per click, which means higher cost per sale. Higher click-through rate means you're going to get a lower cost per click. And I'll explain that in a minute as well. So let's talk about site visitor. How do we do this? How do we know when someone's on your website? Well, it's really simple. We know because, as I said earlier, we're dropping a cookie when Bob makes a purchase. Regardless of what device he uses, we drop that cookie when Bob signs up for something, right? Bob buys something on the post side of a transaction. And what we do is we drop our cookie and we connect it to Bob's email address, his identity, right? And we put that on our graph. So we have 200 million people that we have connected on the post side of a transaction. Why a transaction? So there's no bots. Bots don't buy things. Why a transaction? Because go back to Bob. People use their best email addresses when they buy things, when they sign up for things. So when we build out our graph, we want to know that we've got the right email. Now let's go back one more step. Look at all the device options that Bob could use. So when Bob logs back into this content, if he comes from a device like, let's say, his iPad, then we're able to also log his device ID for that particular device. So not only are we connecting his identity, we're also connecting his devices. And so what that allows us to do is build out our graph. Our identity graph right now has 2.6 emails and 2.5 device IDs per person. We currently purchase, on average, every month, about 200 million people. Our graph is averaging about 250. And as of today, average, we can identify at a 50% deterministically accuracy rate of the people that come to your website, 50%. Now, we're working on a new program with some new vendors and some new sources, and we think this is going to be 260, which is every US adult, and almost an 80%, 80+% identity resolution rate, and we hope to be there by Q1. You see, we're not satisfied, ever. So not only are you going to make sure that you have cutting-edge technology today, Jim, but I promise you, we're doing a whole hell of a lot more than just standing still, because the marketplace has to keep evolving. And if you work with us, I'm not only going to give you exclusive technology today, but I'm going to keep you using exclusive technology so you can beat your competitors. Okay? And that 260 million is every US adult. So we can target Bob anywhere he goes, online or offline. If Bob buys online, we'll be able to connect him back to the advertising. If Bob uses multiple devices in the journey, we'll be able to recognize Bob. If you don't have that ability, you couldn't do this, and your cost per sale will go up. You see, it's about making sure that we don't run one more ad to Bob than we should, or we don't show an ad out of order, because Bob is in a sequence. He's following a specific thought sequence in his journey. We don't want to talk about step 1 stuff when he's on step 5. The key to a lead nurture is to meet them where they are and talk to them about where they are in the journey. And you can do that when you use an identity graph. Because the way people follow buying products is a repeatable pattern, right? Most people visit your website before they buy. So therefore, the people that visit your website are the greatest probability you're going to have for profits today. They're going to be your quickest path to profits today. They're going to be your best use of your resources. You don't have unlimited resources, do you, Jim? So you're going to be able to use what limited resources you have to the best of their ability. So site visitors are the best use of your resources for profits today. And they're your greatest opportunity today for profits. So for you not to know deterministically, right, 100% certain who's at your website, then you're not leveraging your greatest probability, your quickest path, the best use of your resources, and short and simple, your best opportunity. When you got up this morning, you were looking to leverage and to optimize everything you do. To not know who's visiting your website is costing you. I'll go back to the whole point about when someone visits your website and knowing who's in market. We use this cookie, right? This email connection to a cookie, we make the cookie permanent. And we do this for this reason, because sales cycles outlive cookies. Cookies only last about 30 days. So in order to know Bob everywhere he goes, regardless of what device, and to be able to continue to use that to predict who's in market, right? We need to convert this cookie to a permanent piece of identity. And when you do that, then you're in ownership and control, not Facebook and Google. Okay? And I'm not picking on Facebook and Google. I want you to leverage Facebook and Google. I just don't want you to be at their mercy. Because truthfully, they're powerful suppliers and they're not a fan of you. They don't make their money showing ads to people on your benefit. They make money showing ads to their people because the people who watch the ads come back and click again and again. Google and Facebook is a relevancy engine. Okay? And when we turn Bob into a SHA-256, all that is a cryptographic hash. It's privacy protected. That means that we can connect Bob anywhere Bob goes. And we could use this a number of different ways. So you're currently running ads now, or you're using an agency that's currently using cookies. The advantage versus identity resolution is obvious. Identity resolution is permanent. Identity resolution is portable. So which one should you use? Identity resolution. So let's get into the specifics. Okay? I'm sorry. With identity resolution, you have complete traffic insight. When you're using a cookie, Google and Facebook might have that insight, but you're at their mercy. Remember what I said? They're a relevancy engine, meaning relevant to the person who sees the ad, not the person who pays for the ad. They know that you're going to keep advertising because you've got nowhere else to go. Identity resolution gives you the control because they give you the traffic insight. You're in control. Okay? And control is everything. That's why Google and Facebook are Google and Facebook. And just so you know, Google and Facebook in 2018, they got 96% of all the new advertising that was spent in 2018. They are powerful monopolies. So if you don't think owning and controlling and being at the mercy of Google and Facebook are important, you're wrong. Identity resolution is why Google and Facebook are Google and Facebook. And you need identity resolution so you're not at their mercy. So again, I'm not telling you don't run ads at Google and Facebook. I'm just saying don't be at their mercy. But you should be looking to advertise wherever Bob goes. And if Google and Facebook get stupid or get funny and start to slap you as they've known to do and change their terms or raise their price, therefore cutting into your profits, you need to have the ownership and control so that you can go anywhere you want. And like I said, cookies don't last long. On average, the life of a cookie lasts 30 days. Your sales cycle is 3 times longer than that, to sometimes 4 and 5 times longer than that. That means that you would have to pay to get them back again. And the most expensive click you're going to pay is that first click. And you're going to lose because you're not going to know where he is anymore on that sales cycle. So you're going to be paying wholesale pricing, not talking to them in the order in which his journey is, right? He might be at step 4 in the journey. You're advertising them as if they're at step 1. He's already covered that. So permanency means you never have to pay for that again, and you get to maintain where they are in the sales cycle. Identity resolution. Portable. You can go anywhere online. Run this anywhere you want. Google, Facebook, absolutely. You can go to YouTube. You can go to LinkedIn. You can go to Amazon. You're not limited to just one or two places. You can run these ads anywhere you want, as often as you want, and talk about anything you want without having to get permission if you have identity resolution. Okay? Gartner, one of the largest business consulting companies in the world, did a study recently. Multi-channel advertising outproduces single or double channel advertising by 30%. You can do that with identity resolution. You can't do that with cookies. Behavioral lookalikes. This is how you leverage Google and Facebook. I'll show you a case study here in a second. We had a client that was spending 7 figures a month and converting. So therefore, they had their targeting dialed in, they had their messaging on their landing page and their funnel dialed in, and we beat it by 74%. And the only thing we did was we used our identity resolution, we uploaded it to Google and Facebook, and we ran behavioral lookalike. Okay? They were using cookies to do behavioral lookalike, meaning when you upload your hashes to Google or Facebook, you're saying, can you give me everybody who behaves like this? Now, there's 3 things that we found that go into a good behavioral lookalike. Number 1 is recency. If you're doing it only off of sales, that behavior that produced that sale might have been what? 3-4 months ago. That's not valuable to a Google or a Facebook if they need it to be recent. Because there are 3 levels to conversion, click being one of them, right? Click to a page. We're able to model recency, and we're able to get volume, and we're able to segment the behavior as well. So we're going to get not only recent behavior, we're not only going to get a substantial amount of recent behavior, but that behavior is going to be very, very siloed and similar. So what we're asking them to model is going to be pure and less diluted. And that's the reason why, on average, we produce 25 to 75% less cost per click, therefore less cost per sale, using identity resolution. Okay? I'll skip some of these because some of these don't really fit here. All right? Here's my question to you guys, and this is the most important thing for me. When you look at the technology, I want you to start to think about in-market and in-funnel in relationship to solving lead nurture. Does everybody understand that? Now, you can listen to this, you can transcribe it, you can take notes, and you can use it, okay? But the idea, again, I want to show you this. The idea of, sorry, here it is. The buyer's journey. It's a simple question. What percentage of your sales start online? Think about your vertical. It's really simple to figure out. If there are 1,200, 1,500, 17,000, some of these verticals have tens of thousands of keywords. What percentage of sales start online? If you're not understanding that basic fundamental principle, then you don't understand the problem that you're being hired to solve. And so you need to teach that to your prospect by asking that question. Why is lead nurture so important? Because this is how people research solutions. They first dig in on the problem, right? Do I have a problem? How big is my problem, right? They're doing keyword research. They're visiting websites. They're consuming video and content, right? And then what's next in the journey? They're looking at all the different ways in which to solve their problem. And please notice that at step 3 here, they're not talking to companies yet. They're still in market. They haven't visited anybody yet. Because maybe I can take a pill and get rid of my problem. Maybe I can get a shot and take my problem. Maybe I can rub a balm, a salve, you know, some type of cream and get rid of my problem. You know what I'm saying? So there's different alternatives, right? I can list a house myself. I can represent myself legally. I mean, there's a lot of different alternatives to them hiring your customer. So I want you to think about it. Lead nurture means you have to meet them where they are. There are 3 full steps before somebody gets on a page to talk to a specific company. I like to call step 4 a job interview, right? Where you're interviewing solutions. But look where you are beforehand. You're looking at all the solution options. You're getting educated about the problem. By the time you get to step 4, if you haven't built the relationship by educating them in these positions, then you're at a disadvantage when you start this conversation. Think about how our technology identifies people in market. Not only can we identify them at the early stages, but we give it to you in a way in which it's portable, right? Why is that important? What is portability? I mean, Facebook and Google are great, right? But what happens when Facebook turns around and says, you can't talk about that, and they turn off your campaign? And they do that all the time. I have a multi-billion-dollar client right now that can't run ads in Google or Facebook because they said that they don't like what they're saying in their advertising. Now, this is a multi-billion-dollar company. They have an in-house legal department. Trust me, this isn't some, fly-by-night, jack-off selling internet marketing products. This is a billion-dollar-plus company being shut down. And it's not uncommon. PI attorneys get turned off all the time. So here's the question. If you could look and tell this story about the journey and then talk about how our technology delivers on this, right? So think of it like this. They have a problem and you have a plan. So for them to understand the plan, you have to talk about lead nurture. Because telling them how you do it prior to why lead nurture is important loses all the value. It's super sexy when you can go up here and talk about all this really cool shit, and you can show them all these really cool pictures and walk through this really cool stuff, and we have all this really cool technology. But what good is this technology if it can't solve my fucking problem? What good is it? It's worthless. See, if you talk in terms of problem solving, then they understand, right? Nobody cares what you know until they know you care. So by meeting them in the buyer's journey, you're demonstrating you care. You haven't positioned yourself yet. So as you're researching the problem, I'm educating you. I'm identifying those important and relevant issues you need to understand, and then I'm demonstrating how I stack up against it. You're going to be able to do this for every one of your customers. Do you all understand that? Is anybody confused about the importance of that? Because there's one more slide I want to show you. Okay. Now, this is important. Okay? It's super duper important. It's the reason why you pay us. And it's the reason why people are going to pay you. Okay? Because you have an only factor. Okay? You're able to produce a tangible result with exclusive technology. You have what's called exclusive tangible results. So let me talk about this for a second. All right. Think about value, right? Value is two things: appeal and exclusivity, right? Your value proposition. So the center of appeal is want. So it has to be appealing. But let's talk about appealing without any exclusivity. That's what it would look like, right? If 100 other companies or 1,000 other companies or 10,000 other agencies can deliver what you sell, how appealing can it be? It gets diluted. I like this picture better. It gets diluted, okay? The appeal no longer is as appealing because if they can get it from 1,000 other people, right, because it has no exclusivity, it's worthless. Now, what if you have exclusivity but no appeal, right? So you sell 3-wheeled cars, 2-wheeled cars. Woo, you're exclusive. The only guy to sell a 2-wheeled car. How appealing is that? You know, you have a 12-cylinder engine that burns, you know, gets 2 miles to the gallon. How appealing is that? Right? You sell black cars with white polka dots, or white cars with green polka dots, or pink cars with blue polka dots. You're the only one. So exclusivity has to have appeal, and appeal has to have exclusivity. Appeal means want. Your value proposition is something they want in a high interest way, and they can only get it from you level of exclusivity. So let's put this in perspective of an ad agency. You walk into a real estate and you tell them you do Facebook ads. And you show them your case studies. And let's say you're not a in-market targeting guy. And you're killing it, man. You got some fucking kick-ass fucking case study, right? Really a good case study, right? You're like the guy I was saying before who was running 7 fucking figures, and we lowered it by 74%, right? He was already converting. Every case study we have, we lower it by 25 to 75%. So let me ask you a question. 2 questions. The first question is this. You sign up an account. You're not an in-market targeting person. How often is that prospect going to get solicited? Every single day, either rival agencies or alternative marketing products are going to pound on their door. Now, let me ask you a question. If you're the only guy, then you've got a chance. But let's just turn around and say that there's 10,000 other people that can do Facebook ads. And some guy shows a case study, looks just like yours, but he's willing to do it for 20% or 30% less. Do you really think your client's going to be loyal? Let's just assume that he's a great guy or she's a great girl, okay? They're sweethearts. They're good people. Guess what? This is business. You can't ask me to pay a 30% premium out of loyalty. They're either going to get you to lower your fucking price to keep the client, or they're going to go to the other guy. How do you build a business? You can't. What you have in your hands is an only factor. You don't just have tangible results. You have exclusive tangible results. I want you to understand that we're going to start to train on this concept of ETR, exclusive tangible results. I told you the story the other day. Anthony was on the phone, first sales call, and the client laughed at him and then hung up. 5 months later, Anthony signs that client. Now, the original pitch was for $5K, of which Anthony's fee was $2,000. 5 months later, Anthony's fee, $10,000. How did he do it? ETR. He produced exclusive, tangible results. Go back to this. If Anthony was able to produce tangible results, but thousands of other people could what? Deliver the same results, then what would happen? What would happen? They'd leave Anthony. They'd leave you. Why? Because the appeal intensity goes down when the number of options go up. It's no longer as valuable. The force of your value proposition lies in the fact that it has both a high degree of appeal, they want in a high interest way, and a nowhere but you exclusivity. And how you're going to position this is not early in the sales pitch. You're going to solve their problem. You're going to teach them lead nurture, but you're going to mention how you stack up, how you have an exclusive technology that allows you to meet them early in the buyer's journey and build a relationship. So imagine your marketing is educating them, right? You're talking to a business and you're teaching them the buyer's journey. And how you stack up, right, is your exclusive technology that has these tangible results. Can you see the power of this? This is not rocket science. Tell me, do you believe that you have to meet the prospect early and first? Do you believe that you have to build a relationship? Do you believe that that relationship should have trust? Do you believe that that trust should be relevant to the problem they're looking to solve? Do you believe that it's going to take time for somebody, right? Journeys don't happen in one instance. They happen in steps. So therefore, you should be having conversations with them at each and every step. Conversations occur in steps. Do you want to be at the mercy of a powerful supplier and they tell you what you can say at each step? What if Bob doesn't go to Facebook? What if Bob goes to Pinterest? What if Bob opens his email? Don't you want to be talking to Bob during the journey, wherever Bob might go? Or do you just want to say, oh, I want to talk to Bob, but only when he goes to Facebook? What if Bob goes other places? I mean, we already know Bob has multiple devices. So you're going to say, I'm only going to talk to Bob when he goes to Facebook. He goes to Amazon, I'm not talking to him. Goes to YouTube, no thank you. Goes to his email box, I'm not there. Pinterest, fuck that. I'm a Facebook guy. No, you need to become a Bob guy. We've already identified Bob, and we've already identified that Bob has all the behavior of someone that's looking to buy from you. And you're telling me that your plan is to be loyal to fucking Facebook? Not Bob? Not meet Bob where Bob is? Where Bob is on the journey? Now do you understand the power of lead nurture in relationship to our technology? Guys, you not only have technology, you have exclusive. They can't get this anywhere else. Now, here, can they do this? Can they do this? Can they target these people who search these keywords? Sure. If you want to pay full freight retail at Google and pay $12 for a single click when I'm paying $3 or paying $2. Okay? You can go ahead and get ranked for those keywords too. Yeah, that happens overnight. Not. That happens quickly. Not. That doesn't cost a lot of money. Not. By the way, when you get rank, are you guaranteed to be getting all that traffic? No. Can you get rank and still not get a click? Yes. Can you keep that rank forever? No. Does Google tell you how to get back to the top? No. Does Google give a fuck about you? No.